If you have a family relying on your income, you need life insurance. But finding the best quote shouldn't take a lifetime. That's where Policy Genius comes in. In minutes, Policy Genius could save you 50% or more simply by comparing quotes from America's top insurers. Once you apply, the Policy Genius team handles all the paperwork and red tape. To save on life insurance and get protection for you and your family, head to policygenius.com today.
Meyer Brand snacks promise the great value you expect with a quality guarantee in every bite. And summertime snacking is our most favorite snacking season of all because Meyer Brand makes it deliciously easy. From new lemonade flavors to classic ingredients for backyard s'mores to creamy ice cream varieties like new limited edition Purple Cow by Meyer Very Berry Americana with ribbons of real strawberry and blueberry swirls waving in creamy vanilla ice cream. Stop into Meyer and discover big taste and bigger savings on Meyer Brand summertime snacks.
We're talking about podcasts. We're talking about itty bitty podcasts. A podcast. Merry Mini Mondia, Chunkia. I'm kidding.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
We got to jump straight into it.
Hey, is anybody still listening, or was everybody just like,
No,
actually, you know what? Swipe left, push the little red trash can.
It's just us now.
It's just us now.
It's just us.
We kind of ended our little run of classic Mini Mondays on a high note.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, if you want to listen to them have one of the greatest comebacks in extra credit history, go listen to last week's Mini Monday.
In sports, too.
Yeah, in sports history.
And in sport. And so it was kind of, we set the bar high for Loki episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it is time to jump back into those tiny television sets, that home theater. Because we're back in the MCU for our third installment into that MCU TV television show canon. We have Loki now. And I'll say finally. I remember looking at the gap between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki and being like, man, they're just shelling these out.
Yeah.
These are happening so fast. But then a month and a half later, I'm like, where's Loki?
Right.
And it is here. And I think we should just jump straight into it. This is going to be, it seems like, two things right now. Obviously, it is a show, very much with Loki at the center. Obviously, it's a show.
Yeah, obviously, it's a show.
Very much with Loki at the center.
There's Marvel.
But it almost also feels like this is a show about the setting of Phase 4 of the MCU. About one of the big plot lines. It almost as if probably what Quantumania is going to be like.
I mean, they literally said Multiverse of Madness at one point in this episode.
Yeah. So I can't help but almost immediately when we see, obviously we go back to 2011, right? That's where we had, technically the MCU really screws with my brain a little bit because yes, we're going back to 2011, but we're also going back to Endgame. Which is I'm going back and back again.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that
Isn't that Bilbo's book that he writes?
I like it. I'm glad that they're giving us this refresher, even though I think a lot of people at this point, do you think there's anybody watching Loki that this is their first experience with anything from the MCU?
Can I be honest? If it is, they deserve to be lost.
Can you? Yeah, I was going to say, can you imagine?
Yeah, that's wild.
And
but
honestly,
I think they do a great job of sort of explaining it.
I know that we don't.
Go ahead.
Well, sorry. I was just going to say, I know we don't super dump per episode. If we did, mine would be like, I did not need all the recap. That's the only negative thing I have to say about this entire episode is simply who needed all of that. And maybe somebody
really, really appreciated it. Yeah. I'm very glad they put that in there.
I don't think
because that's the beginning of our story, right? We've seen it before, but it's where this story begins. It feels sort of necessary to put there rather than There's a quote that was talking, I don't remember who said it. I was reading it the other day, talking about how stories don't have a beginning, a middle, end anymore, especially with these like ongoing transmedia, multimedia properties, right? Everything kind of just picks up where everything left off. And so I really appreciated the recap giving us a little bit of a beginning. I'm definitely the guy who before we watched Scott Pilgrim for tomorrow's episode, I gave Jess a little bit of a primer on it. I was like, okay, this is weird. It's got George Michael from Arrested Development in it. It's going to be kind of different than you're expecting. So before we started Loki, I was like, okay, we got to remember that this is from Endgame. Remember, this is the alternative Loki who escaped with the Tesseract, and then it starts and just illustrates everything I just said.
Right.
And I think that's actually a huge strength of this show and all the Marvel shows have sort of done this. But I did the same thing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, did that little primer and then explaining sort of the comic precedent of it. Did the exact same thing with WandaVision, and all of these shows, I just feel so confident in the Marvel team to take these weird, the multiversal war and the different time streams, how the TVA goes and prunes timelines. That's weird and wild. And if they tried to, I don't know, if they tried to lead with that, or if we started with that in phase 1, it would make no sense. But they've just laid such good groundwork that I'm so confident they're going to do any explanation to make this weird 70s, 90s comic booky stuff just feel like an integrated part of this story.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, we've talked about it several times, but the MCU has felt like it's kind of been laid out for us as a long plan, as not a long con. It's definitely not a con. It's a trick.
They tricked me.
And they just keep, with every success, they keep saying, okay, now we feel comfortable trying something this wild. Okay, now let's do this. And yeah, the multiverse and getting to a point to where we can actually see some bones to what this wild concept can be was really cool. Something I had meant to mention at the beginning of the episode is the MCU is really good, and Feige and whatever the main team is for creating this content, they're very aware, it feels like, of what fans love. And they seem to kind of please everybody, either if you're really into comic books and into what might be considered canon for some of these characters, or if you just like the experience as they came fresh, which was kind of me. We've talked about that before. You can tell at the very beginning when the Marvel Studios thing turns green that hey, there's a cult following for Loki. They know. Yeah. This is the first time I think we've seen of these TV shows. It feels like a big deal for me to actually change the logo.
Yeah. Because we don't get the regular Avengers fanfare, the Marvel theme, I guess.
Yeah, Loki definitely has a brand. And I think something that I want to say, also, I love the music. I love our intro of seeing all the different kinds of Loki, the way that it's spelled out with all the different characters and stuff. I want to go ahead and super pump this episode. I thought there was going to be, there actually were so many things that I wanted to super pump, but ultimately, I can't stop thinking about the set. I think the set when we immediately go into TVA, and it is this 1970s, and they just stayed there, but also very much Ridley Scott kind of vibe of the TVA when he's walking through the queue. It was both the DMV and the multiverse. It was.
It's if the Death Star was a DMV.
Yes, and it's not just the set piece of the TVA. I think this is a gorgeous show. I am loving every frame, and it feels so thoughtful as to what I don't know. It's I want to know how many storyboards they went through or how many ideas they went through before they landed on this is what they wanted it to look like. It feels very Fallout when we have our what's her name? Tina Time. What's the name of the little
Miss Minutes.
Miss Minutes, Tina Time.
Miss Minutes is also Tara Strong, one of the most prolific voice actors ever. She was Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls. She's basically every Harley Quinn animated.
She's been
that
Harley
matters.
Quinn a billion times, huh?
That's awesome.
She was Timmy Turner for all of the Fairly Odd Parents.
Wow.
That's
why you
done
thought
so
it
much
was
stuff.
Tina Time, because you were combining Tina Time, Timmy Turner to create Tina Turner.
And Tina Turner. That's what it was.
Mhm.
And that's a real
I almost
person.
forgot again the name of this mascot.
Miss Minutes is 100% the DNA from Jurassic Park, by the way.
I thought that as well. A real dinosaur.
Something about the setting reminds me of, this is like if Marvel made The Good Place, almost like somebody coming to a new location and having to learn that there is so much more going on than what they ever understood, and having to learn all the rules to this new place that's sort of weird and inscrutable. Carter, I'm with you. My super pump is just for this episode is the TVA, just being there.
Mm-hmm. How sweet is that jumpsuit and that logo and that, like, everything is just merch me now. Like I'm about everything about this.
Dude, I would wear that jumpsuit. Like,
it looks
for real,
so
just
cool.
wear it. It's slick.
It looks so cool.
Let me tell you who else is working for me, and that's Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson's my super pump.
Yeah.
What a great casting.
Yeah. Never, ever would have thought to cast him in that role, but it's really, really good.
It was that wonderful, like, he's one of those that you're always going to see Owen Wilson in whatever role he plays. But there was a really neat simultaneous, like, he was more Mobius to me than Owen Wilson in episode 1. And that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's his hair.
Yeah.
It's like, who is this guy? It's not Bedhead, so I've never seen this man.
I was expecting more of a Shaggy from Scooby-Doo look.
Yeah, I've never seen this man in my life.
Do we have any guesses as to how old Mobius is?
I don't know.
I want to find out that he's about 12.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, I think, I don't know. Do we want to get into like predictions and spoilers and all that stuff now, or do we want to wait till the other side of the message from our beautiful sponsors?
We can wait till the other side.
Let's wait till the other side.
Okay.
Something that I think we are being trained to look out for in the MCU movies, obviously, but especially in the television shows, is not just Easter eggs, but like reveals, big reveals, because they've done a relatively good job of being semi-hush-hush about things or barely mentioning things. We probably got it more in WandaVision than we did Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But it feels like the first reveal here was just how big this world, this city, the timeline, like I think we were supposed to be, I know I was personally like in awe of, just like Loki was, of like, oh my gosh, like this is an illusion. And it's so fun of all the characters to have thrown into the multiverse, the like tangible multiverse, someone who is all about tricking people and deceiving people.
Yep.
You know, Tom, I think we're going to talk about him plenty for this show.
Sure.
And it's just because it's just expected of him at this point with Loki, just how well he's doing.
Yes.
But yeah, to have him just kind of say out loud some of the things that anybody would expect, but especially the God of Mischief would expect in a place like this, was kind of fun.
Right, yeah.
And immediately the chemistry, you know, we mentioned Owen Wilson, immediately the chemistry between Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson is phenomenal.
Yep.
Yes.
I remember reading
very
up
good.
on, was it Hiddleston that kind of gave Owen Wilson a rundown of like helping develop his character? There was a lot of,
I didn't read this.
A lot of stuff ahead of time. Yeah. And because Owen Wilson was a little bit intimidated about joining the MCU.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so it was kind of like in situations like you guys will do for me sometimes when I just kind of get to sit there and listen about y'all talking about, you know, what else has surprised me, or here's what I should look out for. It feels like that's kind of the dynamic that Owen and Tom had.
Yeah.
Owen just been like, oh, okay, gotcha. So I should do it like that.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. We didn't get any wows. There were zero wows in this episode.
We'll get one.
Sure
I was wowed. I was wowed.
That's for sure. There was one big wow at the middle of my heart.
Can we talk about the church?
Yeah.
At the beginning.
This our introduction to Mobius.
Do you think they added that red stained glass devil window after people lost their entire minds looking for Mephisto in WandaVision?
Feels likely. Because at the end of this episode, we'd find that maybe it's not
Oh, it's defo not Mephisto.
Yeah.
How many
When that
people
kid
do you
smiled
think
with
just
blue
screamed?
teeth? I thought he had braces.
What if?
I was like, man, they messed up.
It was super creepy for me.
It's like that
Yeah, it was very
kid
creepy.
in the beginning of Pirates of the Caribbean 3.
Oh my
at World's
gosh.
End, when the kid, they're singing that pirate song and the kid is hung for his crime of piracy. And he had braces and they didn't take them off for the movie. They just put some brown stuff over his braces. Be like, he's got nasty pirate teeth, but it just looks like he ate a chocolate bar with his braces right before he went to shoot his scene.
And he's got that Apple Watch.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's wearing some Chucks and like pirates didn't have those.
I feel, for me, that Loki, episode 1, Glorious Purpose, is the strongest start to one of these shows so far. For Jordan.
I would say that too. I think it's hard to compare to episode 1
Right.
of WandaVision just because
Sure.
it's
Episode 1 of WandaVision was the Dick Van Dyke Show.
yeah, it's
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
just so unique. But yes, I would say strong. I think a lot of the things that I would find synonymous with strength in like a TV
Yeah.
show and building a narrative. Yeah, Loki's definitely
It feels the most indicative of where Marvel is at right now. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
WandaVision was just this weird thing that will never happen again.
Sure.
But Falcon and the Winter Soldier was like pretty indicative of where Marvel was at in like 2015, 2016. It kind of was a return to that vibe, but this feels very much like it takes place in the same world as Endgame.
I agree. And this feels like probably WandaVision too, but this show feels like if I turned it on and it wasn't Marvel related, I would still be like, I kind of want to see what's about to happen.
Yeah,
here,
totally.
Actually.
Totally.
Whereas I don't know that I would have done that with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. In retrospect, as I've sat on that, it's a little generic superhero to me.
for sure. Yeah, almost even just generic action TV show. I think there's definitely some purpose to having Loki premiere to be what actually bumps up again against MCU coming back to theaters.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's definitely getting everybody. I can't think of anything that doesn't sound gross. Oiled up.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Slide right into that theater. Run, slide on your tummy like a big slip and slide into the movies.
You know what I just got really excited about?
Hmm.
Like in the middle of Loki, we've got a good lineup set up right now.
Yeah.
Because in the middle
good
of Loki,
time.
we're gonna go see Fast 9, yo.
Yeah.
That's 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it since I woke up yesterday.
That's 2 weeks, 1 hour and 32 minutes and 14 seconds from yesterday.
Carter, we've only got 13 sleeps until Fast 9.
It's amazing.
You know, the thing I've been thinking about since yesterday is a word from our sponsors.
As a parent, no 2 days are ever the same. At Care.com, you can find trusted and flexible sitters to help manage your family's ever-changing schedule. Care.com can even help you out with housekeepers, dog walkers, senior caregivers, and more, so you can find care for all you love. And 100% of caregivers who use Care.com have been background checked with CareCheck, a key first step in hiring confidently. To get the help you need to make it all work, sign up now and find a great sitter at Care.com.
Calling all families. Discovery Plus has thousands of shows that will bring everyone together. Stream exclusive originals, plus a huge collection of family favorites, all for just $4.99. Discovery Plus is the streaming home for the whole family, plus so much more. Start your free trial.
So we've talked about Hiddleston, we've talked about Wilson, and was it Martino is who you said is the voice actress? Who is it? Who's
Tara Strong.
Tara Strong.
Tara
Okay.
Strong.
I think they're being kind of tricky right now because there's some people. What does it usually mean to y'all? Is it a red flag or something? Or it's like, hey, I should look out for who this character is going to be. There'll be some kind of reveal when we have the actor's name, but we don't have their role on IMDb. Or is that just IMDb screwing up? Because Musaku, she's who is just basically like, feels like the muscle or the head of some of the security for the TVA. We don't have who she is.
Yeah. We don't have like a character name.
We don't
for
have
her.
a character name for her.
Hmm.
So
Maybe she's the same character. You're talking about what's her name? Letty's sister from
Yep.
from Lovecraft
Oh,
Country.
yeah.
Maybe it's the same character.
Yeah.
Maybe
could
it's
be.
Ruby.
It could be Ruby.
Again.
And then we also don't have a name for Bathara.
Oh, the judge.
Yeah, who's the judge in that? Which,
I don't know.
speaking.
We have a name right here.
Time judge.
We do?
Yeah, Ravana Rinslayer.
Ooh, that's cool.
Gosh, that's a cool
That's a really
name.
cool name.
Yep.
Wow.
And
name
Mosaku
sucks.
has Hunter B15.
Hunter B15.
I really thought you were going to say Hunter Beef. And I was like, that one's not as good.
Hunter Beef.
Oh, it
Hey,
is showing
I just-
up right there.
Beef.
I've got to take this opportunity to say the young man whose father was on the board of Goldman Sachs, who was zapped into oblivion for not having a ticket. That
Yeah.
actor's name is Josh Fadem, and he was Liz's agent in 30 Rock, agent to Liz Lemon and also to Pets.
And a bunch of pets.
And I saw him do a short stand-up set at a super cool, super weird house party in like
Oh, yeah.
2019. It was very strange.
Oh, is that the one at the like really nice house, like at the mansion?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
weird is that?
I know. I heard his voice. I was like, is that the guy from... And it was.
But then as soon as,
So,
as soon as you heard his voice, he was gone forever.
He was gone.
Do you want to give a quick shout out to Eugene Cordero, who plays the clerk who's going to get turned into a fish?
I love him.
He and Tom Hiddleston have been together in Kong Skull Island before, but it's funny we mentioned The Good Place because he is Donkey Doug in The Good Place.
Donkey Doug.
And that's what I think of every time I see him. He's always good. My boys, can I make some predictions?
Yeah.
Predict.
Can I speculate
Yeah.
wildly in a segment that will immediately age and date
Yeah.
this episode in about a week's time?
Yeah.
So it's clear that the TVA is an organization created in the aftermath of some big multiversal war, right? Where all these different time streams are fighting against each other to be the dominant supreme time stream and keep people from, if we're time stream A, we don't want people from time stream B and C crossing over into our time stream to turn it into their time stream, because then we cease to exist.
Sure.
So we need to make sure we're the dominant time stream. It's sort of clear to me that the TVA is going to end up being the villains of this show.
It seems like that.
It really seems like that. It seems like they're the winners of this multiversal war. And if you're a Marvel Comics head, then you know that these multiversal wars are called secret wars. These are big comics-wide events that we have from time to time. So they're the winners of this secret war. And the TVA is their task force, basically patrolling all these different time streams, pruning the ones that don't end or don't begin with their victory in that multiversal war. They're doing everything they can to maintain their supremacy of the timeline and keep the sacred timeline as the main timeline, which leads me to believe we are almost certainly going to get an appearance from Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. That's a huge, you can't do the TVA multiversal wars, a sacred timeline, without Kang the Conqueror, who's rumored to be the next big bad of the MCU after
Cool.
Thanos. But
I kind
I'm
of thought
almost
maybe that would be who they were hunting.
So who they're hunting, this show has long been rumored to introduce Lady Loki to the MCU, a multiverse version of Loki that presents as female.
Interesting.
And so I think she's the variant that they're hunting, Lady Loki. And so I think this is probably going to end with this is probably Tom Hiddleston's last outing as male presenting Loki. And we're going to get Lady Loki probably from here on out in the MCU.
That's so interesting. And do you think it's just a complete, I mean, it would have to be a complete secret on who would be even cast as?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's either a complete secret or they lied about who they cast Emilia Clarke as in the Secret Invasion show.
Oh.
And she's Lady Loki.
Do you think
that could be interesting?
the role of Lady Loki, if that's what we have, do you think it's a better strategy to have kind of someone who's not very famous? Or is it, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I bring that up because seeing Tom Hiddleston, we had talked about it. I think we talked about this last week during Mini Monday of them, the article. What did the article say, Doge? I think it was you who remembered the title of it, the casting the no names.
Casting unknowns. Him and Chris Hemsworth.
Marvel rolls dice, cast no names for Thor.
And I was trying to think of like, is that? I mean, that's got to be their biggest trophy. There is those two castings.
Sure.
I think so. That they discovered those
because
two guys.
it feels
For
like
sure.
anyone else that we've had for a relatively serious role, and that's not to say that Monica Rambeau won't have a much bigger role later. Maybe she wasn't super recognizable in terms of a character, but I wonder if they're going to still. I kind of don't want them to get out of the habit of casting some of our leads,
quote unquote, no names.
As some quote
I'm
unquote
with you.
no names.
Have they ever cast somebody besides Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth who hadn't really done a big blockbuster before their Marvel movie? I mean, I guess maybe Chris Pratt.
I mean, he had already done Zero Dark 30,
Zero Dark
right?
30, though. Yeah.
Brie Larson had Skull Island come out before Captain Marvel,
And
Yes.
Room.
And Room.
but I wouldn't count that as a blockbuster. She won an Oscar, which is a
that's
huge
fair.
deal. Yeah, it's an Oscar
fair.
winner. But
So are we saying that we collectively might think that we are sunsetting Tom Hiddleston in this series?
I do. I think that.
Okay.
I don't know about, I mean, you guys think what
I
you
don't
want.
want to think it. I mean, I can see it now that you've brought it up, but I don't want it to happen.
I think that's where I'm at. Is I don't want that.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Can we talk about him watching his own death and watching his mother's death, and that it was his
Oh, yeah.
responsibility or his responsibility?
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
That was really good. I thought it was a creative
It's really
way
good.
to, because I think it feels like of a lot of our characters, because Loki was not supposed to be this. Okay. They did cast this guy. They never thought, there's a lot of things you could never think about long ago when you cast him in Thor, which feels like a century
It was
ago.
10 years
Yeah.
ago.
Right.
11 years ago.
You wouldn't think that they would have its own television show, but in terms of seeing him, also he's speaking of the Fast and Furious series. It's like a villain turned good, turned villain turned. It's like
Oh, sure.
it has
Yeah.
kind of that dynamic. But it felt like it was going to take a lot for him to change. We kind of see it a little bit more, and he gets to watch it himself because him and Thor have a sweet moment before he dies in Endgame. But to kind of see him grow in like a 2-minute span, just because he's watching his entire career, was just phenomenal acting by Hiddleston, which is no surprise.
Sure.
And B, just such an incredibly creative way to kind of make him more of a good guy already.
Well,
Right.
he's now so much closer to the Loki that we watched Thanos kill at the beginning of Infinity War. That was my biggest worry going into this, was that we were going to treat him like Mad Eye Moody, where it's like, I've gotten to know this person that isn't you, but we're just going to
Clean slate
pretend
all
that
of a
I got
sudden.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, and that brings me back to what I was trying to say literal hours ago about our flashbacks. This is when it works, is when we're seeing the flashbacks and Loki's watching them.
yeah.
To me, starting the episode with the scene from Endgame that we've already seen now twice in the MCU at this point was, to me, a drag, and was like, come on. And
Yeah.
I was a little worried that this was just going to be a trip down memory lane. But then,
Like a clip show.
right. And
Hey,
that-
Loki, you remember that time you fought the Dark Elves?
that's what I was getting at. I'm not upset that people are getting a refresher. I'm upset that the refresher was just presented as a little clip show before we started. But when we're getting it through the eyes of Loki sitting and reflecting on who he is, who he's been, and who he might end up being, or is quote unquote intended to end up being, then it becomes very interesting and it becomes character development. And that's really my issue with the first style,
I can see that.
When we're watching Loki, I love when he realizes he's watching something that hasn't happened to him.
Yeah.
When he's talking to his mom and he's like, what is this? This is a trick. That's when I started to be like, okay, here we go. Because the whole time I was like waiting. I was like, are they going to show his death to him? And then when he finally watches it, we get this huge payoff and it works so well.
Well, and that's so rich too, because he's watching Thanos kill him hours and hours before this. He had been there on that cheap little set from Avengers with Thanos in his chair talking about how we're going to work together and all this stuff. Yeah.
Right. And he also watched Thanos kill him after watching him be friends with all these people and like help these people that he thought he hated. And so just I don't know. The other scene I loved, by the way, was him opening up the evidence locker to get the Tesseract and seeing a bunch of Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
And watching him realize that everything he has chased is meaningless
It doesn't matter.
This place exists.
Yeah.
Whew.
That was so good.
Yeah, that was so good. And one more scene too that I meant to talk about was when he finds his ticket. That was so comedic. The timing of like right before we cut into the title sequence was really funny. I think it feels like the production of and everything that it entails of this television show of Loki feels like someone whose job it is to handle uranium. It is because of the multiverse. Because the thing is like, this is a setting that if they wanted to, they could make the entire first 3 phases of the MCU obsolete, which is a bad idea, which is incredibly dangerous. So it's like, how are you going to, there's enough critics in the world that you're not going to please everybody. But how are you going to please, like you often do, MCU, the majority of people watching this show without just you could totally, they're just playing with uranium the entire time because it's timeline.
Well, how do you thread that needle? Because like the whole show, I believe, is going to shape up to be an argument against determinism. I think that's going to be the villain, whether that's Lady Loki or some alternative Tom Hiddleston. The whole thing of the villain is going to be, I saw my future where I died and I didn't want that. So I'm making my own future. Right. And we as the audience sympathize with that. And we probably all agree with that of like, no, you should be free to decide your own fate.
Right.
But then if the Avengers enter into it, we want our sacred timeline Avengers to win and beat all the other Avengers from all the other timelines.
Right.
And so we don't want, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing of like, we don't want them to determine their fate. Dragons are all nice, so let's ride our dragons, but kill the big dragon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of loops back on itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime time gets involved.
One more time. Give it to me again.
Anytime time gets involved, things can become sloppy. They can become
we've had
so far-fetched that they're not fun anymore.
Yeah.
We've had several movies that played with time like this.
Sure.
We got a whole summer of love that's about time.
That's true. Yeah, there's so much danger. Carter, I think you're dead on with the uranium analogy. Like, it feels like anytime they start to mess around with timelines and things we've already seen and the potential to make, 19 movies worth of content obsolete on accident. Mm-hmm. Anytime we start messing with that stuff, it feels like they got to put, suit up, scrub down, put on the gloves, get the big old tongs that glow and all that. Yeah. Like, it's like, you got to handle this so carefully. But there's just something about me. And I know, like, it's become a bit of a meme in movie circles now to be like, oh, Marvel movies are incredible. Blah, blah. They are incredible. Back off, first of all. And second of all,
those are Zack Snyder truthers that create those movies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I want to see the Loki cut. I just think I trust Marvel enough to believe that they're going to knock this out of the park.
That's also what's so exciting about it. And, Chelsea and I, when we went to Disney a couple of weeks ago, having been frequent visitors of that park, we have guarantees in our mind. Like, we know that there will be certain feelings. We know that there will be certain
turkey legs.
Yeah, just anything like rides that we go on, stuff like that. And I've done it before, right? A lot of that is not going to be new to me. But yeah, that's just the great thing right now is like, you just kind of sit back and there is no navigation because this is an all-inclusive, like you just sit back and let the MCU just kind of take you and just enjoy it.
Yep.
And yeah, this is a feast right now. Like I'm sad that there's only 5 episodes. We have only watched 1 episode, but it's a 6-episode season.
Dude, I did the same thing last night. I was like, only 6?
I know, but it seems they feel pretty true to the runtime though. Did y'all notice that?
Yeah, they're all about an hour.
So we're not going to have I wonder if that's a response to people being like, okay, like you said, it was 45.
Well, it's like better than Mandalorian, where it was like, this week the episode is 13 minutes.
Right? Are you kidding me? And it's 8 minutes of credits.
Exactly. If this is a feast, may I point out the thing that was, I don't know, maybe like the rutabagas on the table that everybody's like, why did you put that there?
I couldn't even point out a rutabaga if you put it in front of me. I have no idea what it looks like.
I have it in my mind's eye, but I don't know if I'm thinking of a beet or a radish or a rutabaga, but it's one of those nasty purple boys that you don't want to eat. And if this sequence never comes back, it was the biggest waste of time. Oh my God, is that a rutabaga?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Dude, it looks like
a Hulk
It
onion.
looks like an evil onion. Yeah.
If this sequence doesn't come back, it was the biggest waste of time in this episode. The DB Cooper thing, that was such a waste of time. Why
That's so funny.
That's like a whole like, I don't know. That's when it felt like a clip show to me. At that point, I was like, are we going to get all just Loki's adventures through history? Like
Who's DB Cooper?
The guy who did that. The guy robbed a plane and parachuted out and he was
like
never
in
found.
real life.
Never found.
In real life. Yeah.
In real life, yeah. And so now we're like, it was Loki. That felt very much like, X-Files? Like, what is going on here? It just felt like a waste of time that doesn't contribute anything meaningful to the story. I would have rather had more of Tom and Owen talking at the table. More character development rather than just, here's an adventure where Loki lost a bet to Thor.
Right.
I hear that. I hear what you're saying. What it did for me was it made me go, I hope once per episode we find out Loki did something in history that we know about.
Yeah, as long as it's,
I just loved it.
I'm okay if it's a through beat, as long as it's not just a ton
just
of
a bit. Yeah.
But okay, well, to end this episode, is there anything else y'all wanted to talk about?
How cool it is.
To end.
Do you remember that part where there was there was the robot and it made a smile on his face?
Fun.
Crazy, dude.
Oh, dude, the slow-mo effect on him getting hit in the mouth.
Yeah, that's very good.
Was great.
To end this episode, I'd love to have your name. And then also, Loki just kind of happened upon the multiverse. Yes, it feels appropriate of all the characters in the MCU for him to be here. Well, we say that now. There's going to be a multiverse of madness soon, and it'll feel appropriate for Doctor Strange to be there too. But he simply grabbed the Tesseract and just kind of fell into an alternate timeline.
Sure.
After watching this show, we might become a little more educated on how we could get into another timeline. I want to have your name, and I want you to tell me what event takes place that you have orchestrated to go into another timeline. I'm Carter. Well, now that you said it's easy, I'm intimidated because I haven't thought of anything. I just thought of the idea, but you already know what you want to do.
I'm manifesting it. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but I know it's going to come to me. It's going to be easy.
I don't really understand the question, so I'm waiting to hear what you guys say before I even try.
Well, it's tricky because the way Loki got into the TVA was that he went back in time to a place he wasn't supposed to be, and they were like, I'm going to yoink you, and you don't get to be here anymore.
Are you saying I am orchestrating the event that allows me to go travel the multiverse? Or if I am able to travel the multiverse, what am I doing?
Let's say, what puts you on the TVA's radar? What event can you put together to put you on the TVA's radar?
I got it.
Easy. No pressure, Carter.
I'm Carter, and my attempt is going to be just to find the likeness of the DeLorean, try and track that down, and just take it and just light the tires on fire, and just take off.
What year are you going to? How far back?
I don't even know. I'm just going to let it take me. I don't know. Do you think did Loki know where he was going? Maybe he did.
Probably not. I'm Doge. We are pretty rigorous timekeepers here in this reality of ours. And the gold standard for what time it is the atomic clock, right? We can all agree on this. So I'll infiltrate the atomic clock and I'll pull out the little thingy on the side, twist the dial, move it forward 1 minute. Suddenly, this timeline is missing an entire minute. And I'm the greatest time thief the multiverse has ever known.
The greatest. Like you're going to be up in the halls. We missed it, but your portrait was up there when Loki walked by.
I'm on a stained glass window. And I'm red too.
Just passing
like
out gum to all the kids.
That's good. I would find...
Who are you?
The Tesseract.
Who is doing this?
It doesn't matter. It's a spirit thing. I'm
That's
Jordan,
true.
and I would, through the Tesseract or whatever, what have you, I would travel to the meeting between Reggie Fils-Aimé and Doug Bowser, the passing of the torch from one Nintendo of America president to another, and I would enter said meeting with a spooky mask.
Yeah.
And I would grab them both by their lapels, pull them in close and say, for the love of God, make new games.
I'm Doug Mario. I'm your mortal enemy. Make more games.
Just don't remake. Don't make a bunch of indie stuff. Just you've got so many IPs.
Do you think the next president of Nintendo is going to have to be Doug Mario? And then there's going to be Doug Luigi, and then maybe Doug Daisy, Doug Peach, Doug Toad? Or is Doug Bowser just a once-in-a-lifetime lightning strike?
I don't know. All I know is whoever the next president is, it seems like Breath of the Wild 2 is still going to be in development, maybe.
At this rate, yeah.
Just give me games. Nintendo.
Want to improve your self-confidence? We recommend Short North Dental for your whitening, tightening, and brightening needs. From cleanings to Botox, treat yourself to a great smile. Check out the newest gallery in the Arts District at shortnorthdental.com because dentistry has never looked this good.